Yisrael. This is Yehonatan Week with you here humbly so on what they call the 12th of September 2021. Stark contrast to last week when we were shouting with the shofar and everything. Again, I apologize for, like I said, I was blowing that thing every day out my window, waking the neighborhood up, and then I had a nice jubilant day before on a baptism blowing it, and I just didn't do well. But stark reality has changed, but we are still going to finish part 2 of Teruah, and then we're going to do our Yom Kippur broadcast next week. And Yom Kippur begins at Wednesday, what they call Wednesday, at sunset. And we will do Yom Kippur on that following Sunday. So this Wednesday at sunset. Last week we went through Leviticus 23 and Numbers 29. Those are your two go-to scriptures, citations for blowing of the trumpets. And we learned that Teruah is not a trumpet. Teruah is not blowing a shofar or a kudu, which I had here last week. The Teruah is actually you, me, us, we. We are the Teruah, and then we may go ahead and Yahweh blows through us. He speaks through us, and we are His Teruah. We can be His shofar, but the Teruah is the one who's doing the shouting, the clapping, and the jubilation. We see that the root word to Teruah is ruah, and it means jubilant shouting. Give a blast, a shout. Also can be a war cry, a battle cry. Shouting for triumph, sounding the alarm. Pictographically, this is original words, original truth, Yahweh for Christians, that this word Teruah is marking the man securely attentive to the breath of Yahweh. Remember, Yahweh exhaled Yah into the nostrils of Adam, and he exhaled way. Yeah, Adam was the original Teruah, and he exhaled Yahweh's name. And he today, in these last days, who was connected to the breath of Yahweh, of the ones that's going to be resurrected. We know that the first Teruah came from the mouth of Yahweh, and He created all things. He said, "Let there be light." That was His shout, and there was light. Light meaning let the creation be full of the knowledge of Yahweh. That's what or means. Doesn't mean light for you to see with your eyeballs. Or means the knowledge of Yahweh. 6 days later, so Teruah, we learned also, is not the beginning of the year. 6 days later is when the Teruah was blown into Adam. So, also last week, we talked about, nowadays we can get off our high horse and start being all proud and rowdy. You got your smartphones that can tell you exactly when a new moon is. We still are commanded as men of Yah to watch for the new moon. It started this year at 8:52 p.m. And I was teaching, and I've been doing this for 2 years now on this particular teaching, that the new moon actually is at zero luminosity. And I went through and showing that in the scriptures, primarily in 1 Samuel chapter 20. Read all of the 1 Samuel chapter 20, but the key 5 verses are verse 5, verse 24, verse 25, verse 27, and verse 30. This is showing how in the beginning of the month it was a zero luminosity moon. On the second day it was zero luminosity. On the third day is when there was the sliver. So by the time you see the sliver, you are 3 days into the month. A good example I gave this year that I didn't give last year is this. There's no controversy. Everybody agrees that the Passover begins on the 14th day of the month on a full moon. everybody agrees that Passover is on the 14th day of the month on a full moon. There is no debate about that. That means full means complete. That's 100% luminosity. 100%. Not 99, and it's impossible to be 101% because then you're beginning a waxing moon. So if the Passover begins on the 14th day of the month, or the first month, under a full moon, and it does, that means if you count back 14 days, then you must then be going down to a new moon, which is zero luminosity. So Passover counts from a new moon of zero luminosity. That's when Passover counts from. As such, that means that you go from 0 to 100. You go from a new moon, which is zero luminosity, to a full moon, which everybody agrees to is 100% luminosity. Nobody is saying a full moon doesn't have to be 100%. If this is true, and it is, that means Yahweh Shua died on time. If you count from a crescent, that means Yahweh Shua, who is the Pesach, died a day late. And we know Yahweh Shua died on time. He came on time, he died on time, he resurrected on time, and trust me, he will return on time. That's what the Moedim are all about, appointed times. Do not worship or celebrate a crescent. So now that brings us to, I want to finish off on Yom Teruah. We're going to start off again on Matthew 24, 36, 42, and 44. Matthew 24, 36, 42, and 44. And it reads, and this is Yahweh Shua talking about watchfulness. But of that day and hour, no one knows, not even the Malachim of Hashemayim, but my Ab only. Then we go to verse 42 and 44. Watch therefore, because you do not know what hour my master is coming. Therefore, you also be ready, because the bane of Yah, the bane of man, the bane of Ish, the son of man, is coming at an hour you do not expect. Now I'm going to tell you today, and I did it last year for those who are new and have not heard the answer, or those who may have forgotten, the exact time, the exact day. And you just heard Yahweh Shua say you don't know the exact time, or he said you don't know the exact hour. We are supposed to know the time, but not the exact hour. But I'm going to tell you your exact hour when he's going to return by the end of this broadcast. So stay tuned so you can hear the exact. Am I contradicting the word? No, I'm not. But I will tell you the exact day. Stay tuned. Wake up your neighbor. Call your pastor, because he doesn't know the exact day. Now we find that since I'm in Matthew 24, who says he's talking about being watchful because you don't know the exact hour. Let's stick there and go up to verse 14. This is Matthew 24, 14. This is Yahweh Shua talking. He says, in this Besorah of the kingdom, you call it gospel, this Besorah of the kingdom will be preached in all the world as a witness to all the nations, to all the goyim, and then the end will come. It can't come until all get this word. Let's go down to verse 35. And verse 35 reads, heaven and earth will pass away, but my Debarim will by no means pass away. So Yahweh Shua speaks. He says what he speaks is going to happen. So I spoke about how this word is going to go to all the end of the world, because children are always being born and people are always dying. So no one's going to absolutely always get this word, but we're not going to go into the detail of that at this time. But yes, this is not going to happen until everyone gets this word. Then the end will come. So how am I going to tell you the exact day and the exact hour? I will tell you by the end of this broadcast. And as I shared, Yahweh is the original word. When he said, let there be or, that means let there be the knowledge of Yahweh. He breathed 6 days later into Adam. The beginning of his name, Adam completed it. That's the original Teruah. Represented later when Moshe was commanded to fashion 2 silver trumpets, Hatzatzara, not shofarim. These were silver trumpets, Hatzatzara. One for Adam, one for Mother Hawa. Now, how did Mother Hawa come to life? Because Yahweh did not breathe into her nostrils. Mother Hawa came to life when she was presented to Adam, and he saw her and was like, Yah! And she was startled to life. Way! So he teruah into her and startled her to life. This is no different, and I will testify that I witnessed the birth of both of my children. And they had to be startled to life. You know, I liked how Pastor Williams put it last week. He had his shofar, because I have forgotten mine. And I'm glad I did now because of what I'm going to tell you. He had it laying on the table, and he said, that is the shofar. It is lifeless over there. And a shofar is indeed lifeless. It's laying, or a kudu, or whatever it is laying on the table. It is lifeless. It doesn't come to life until the teruah blows into it. Until a living soul blows into the shofar, or the chasatzara, or the kudu, or whatever it is whatever you're blowing into. Then it comes to life. So it has to be a living being that has to give the non-living item life. Adam was beautifully created, but lifeless until Yahweh blew into him. He was presented with Mother Hawa, who was beautiful and lifeless until he startled her when he saw her and was like, wow, look what I got. Look what Yah gave me. And he startled her to life. Our evil, wicked world startles children to life, not by calling on the name of Yahweh, but by spanking. So we wake up being assaulted. Our first breath of life comes to us by being assaulted by a sinful doctor who spanks you. And so begins your life of sin. What the doctor should do is call on the name of Yahweh and startle that child to life. That's what should happen. Mother Hawa, thinking that her first son was going to be the chosen one to crush the serpent's head, raised him up and called out his name and startled him to life. That's why historically, the mothers call on the child, give the child their name, and calling on Yah to startle the child to life. This spanking business is a new creation by people that don't look like you. Yahweh for Christians on the famous 1590 WFBR, Yonathan Dawid with you here on part 2 of Yom Teruah broadcast. I'm going to tell you today the exact hour of Hamashiach's coming. So we see that we are born dead and we have to be startled to life. Today we are spanked to life. And that we were created lifeless and we're startled to life. Now this is why the Malach himself spoke to Miriam and told her what the name of her son was going to be. That was born by Ruach HaKodesh. Do not be alarmed. She said his name, which at that time heretofore was secret. No created entity at all knew what the name of the coming covenant would be. And that name was a common name. Yahushua is a common name. It means Yah, he is salvation. It's a very common name. But this man's name is going to be Yahweh. I am salvation. The Malach told Miriam that when she birthed him, she raised him up and called out his name, Yahweh. And he woke up. He didn't wake up like we do crying. He woke up, opened his eyes, and he says in Psalm 22, 9 and 10, you made me trust while on my mother's breast. From my mother's womb, you have been my mighty one. He woke up with the knowledge of Yahweh. Like he said in the beginning, let there be or. She spoke. This is why Yahweh is a seed watcher. This was a pure woman. and by the inspiration of Ruach HaKodesh. Hear this what I'm telling you. The inspiration of Ruach HaKodesh, who spoke through her. He teruah through her. And she teruah through this body that was housing eternality. This limited body of flesh and blood with dom wama'im, blood and water in it. She teruah his name, and he woke up, and there was let there be light, the knowledge of Yah. He woke up with the knowledge of his Father, and he had to mature and learn just like we did. We are all born with the knowledge of Yahweh. It is the law of nature. What we have to do is get intimate with Yahweh to bring it to our remembrance. The teruah is the signaling of the day of Yahweh. This critical moed starts the beginning of what we call the fall feast. And we have traditionally been taught, I'm going to go to the book of Daniel. Our Sunday school teachers and our Sabbath school teachers have traditionally taught us about these times and half of times as being a year. There is scripture to show that a day for a year. That's not the debate. But here in Daniel 7 and 25, Daniel 12 and 7, and then in Revelation 12 and 14, I submit to you that it's not talking about a day for a year like it does in other places. It's speaking as an appointed time. These are appointed times. That's why the Christian world and the other worlds are out of touch to what's going on, because they did not study the appointed times. Let's read Daniel 7, 25, and then Daniel 12 and 7, and then Revelations 12 and 14. I'm about to give you some revelation. Daniel 12, 7 and 25 reads, "He will speak pompous words against the Most High, and will persecute the saints of the Most High, and will intend to change times and law. Then the saints will be given into his hands for a time and times and half a time." Okay? We've been told that's 3.5 years. Even I have said the same. Then we go over to 12 and 7. Down here, y'all want to know when is all these great things are going to happen. 12 and 7 reads, "Then I heard the man clothed in linen, who was above the waters of the river, when he held up his right hand and his left hand to Hashemayim, and swore by him who lives olam forever, that it will be for a time, times, and half a time. And when the power of the Kodesh the holy people, has been completely shattered, all of these things will be finished." We have to have no hope for this end of the world to come. Let's get the third witness about this times and half of times. We're going to give you the understanding, a better understanding of what this means, which is different than what we have been taught. Revelation 12, 14. And it reads, "But the woman was given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness to her place, where she is nourished for a time and times and half a time from the presence of the serpent." So we got 3 witnesses here about this times, and half the times. And I want to give some credit to Steve Maltria of Torah Family, I think it's torahfamily.org, who submitted this alternate understanding of it. So of course I did my research, and I don't mean being a thumb scholar with a smartphone. And I studied these words, and I studied the history and all of this. And we see that the word used in Daniel 7:8 is Adam, which means time. Now, if you look at the concordance on this, it's a masculine noun, and it's a loan word. This word Adam is an Assyrian loan word, and it means fixed, appointed, definite time. And it also has an Arabic meaning, which means absolute, emphatic. So we talk about in a specific time, whatever it is. So I'm saying, well, I really can't go with this this teaching that Steve Maltria has given us, because it's a loan word. It's a Hebrew word on loan that's been loaned out. If you go to Daniel 12:7, it uses the actual word moed, which we are accustomed to that word, and it means time, appointed time, not just any time. When it says appointed time, and it means a place or a meeting, and the root word is ya'ad, to appoint, to agree to meet, assemble, assign, designate, meet together, set, summon. This is why we don't take lightly these things. Yahweh give us these appointed times for a reason, because he's going to be where he needs to be, and we need to be there if we're following these times. So I said, okay, I go along with that, but we still got two different words. Then, of course, Revelations, we know, as I've been taught, and gave you many scriptures to back it up, the entire Torah, the whole so-called Bible, is inspired in Hebrew with very few exceptions. And I talked about the book of Revelations, which is all written in Hebrew. But even if you use the Greek word for time, for times, it has kairos, time, season, fitting season. That means the fit time and the opportune time. So I said, well, does this really mean 3.5 years, or possibly 1.5 years? Now, remember that all of the book, Daniel is one of the few books of the Bible that's not totally written in Hebrew. It was not totally inspired in Hebrew. Part of it was inspired in Aramaic for different reasons that I'm not going to go into, because I'm already running out of time already. So, but from Daniel chapter 2, verses 4 through 7, Daniel chapter 2, verse 4, through the chapter 7, 28, is all inspired in Aramaic for other reasons I'm not going to go into. The rest of it is in Hebrew. Everything before Daniel 4 is in Hebrew. Everything after Daniel 7:28 is in Hebrew. That answers the question as why in Daniel 7:25 and Daniel 12:7 there's two different words used for time. But they both are the same word, moed, appointed time. And I've already explained to you how the New Testament, and particularly Revelations, was written in Hebrew. So that word is time. So what do we get? We get time, which is moed. We get times, which is moedim. And we get chatzi, which is halftime. Now, so this first time, we're talking about the end of the age. I'm going to tell you the exact date for the end of the age. We're talking about the importance of Yom Teruah and signaling the end of the age. The process of time with the ending of the age. That's what we're talking about. Now, time is the Yom Teruah, because then you have next week, and it starts Wednesday at sunset, and you're going to have Yom Kippur. And then 5 days later, you have Sukkot. Those are your fall feasts. So that's the first time, okay? That's time. Time 2 is, then you have Pesach, first fruits, and Shavuot. That's Moedim. That's times. And then you have Chatzi, which is halftime. You have Yom Teruah again, Yom Kippur, and Sukkot. But he says he's going to come in the middle of that, which means he comes at Yom Kippur. Mashiach is supposed to come at Yom Kippur, based on this understanding of the next coming. What happened at Yom Kippur, which comes up Wednesday at sunset. Now, another thing that supports why this interpretation of Daniel 7:25, Daniel 12:7, and Revelation 12:14 is that it's not times, and half of times being a year, because the Hebrew word for year is shana. Hebrew number 8141. And in none of these scriptures are they using the word shana. They're not using shana. They're using moed. And we know moed means the appointed time. We know that's what it means. It means an appointed time. Yahweh Shua, as Hamashiach first, is going to come at the appointed time. So that's just another interpretation to give. So the scenario is this, and I've been teaching this for years, is that we have the sixth seal earthquake, which rocks the Western world, not the entire world, just the Western world in the north, where Yisrael has been scattered. We still have Yehuda, who's on the eastern side of the world. That begins the resurrection. Now, of course, the rest of the world is not going to even see the resurrection. They just hear thunder and lightning and seeing the earthquakes. but indeed we will be resurrected on Yom Teruah, like Yahweh resurrected Adam when he breathed into Adam and brought him to life. We come from our graves and we are come to life by the voice of Yahweh. Those who have an ear to hear. We know that Yahweh says, my sheep know my voice and they hear it. So the dead that died without the love of Yahweh will not understand that cracking and that thunder and that lightning, and they're going to stay dead in the graves. Those who loved Yahweh when they were on the top side of the dirt and passed away will hear his voice and come from their graves after that sixth seal earthquake. From that point on, in the seventh seal, you have a half hour of quietness. That is going to be a whole lesson by itself. I'm going to try to get it in when I can. But that's half hour. That's about 7 years. That's a half hour quietness. But then that begins the bold judgments. And we have not been reserved for bold judgments. But what happens for those who are righteous who did not pass away? That's your remnant. And they're going to have this year and a half. Before I was saying 3.5 years. So it depends. We do not know yet exactly this interpretation of these times and half the times. I'm now saying it looks like, because you always say it's going to cut it short. It's going to cut it short. So it may not actually be 3.5 years. They may only have that year and a half to get to Zion, the remnant. Yehuda comes from the east and the south. With their companions, they go to Sinai to marry up with Hamashiach. Hamashiach spoke. The dead in Hamashiach rose from the grave. They go to Hashemayim, and we are going to open the books, and we see the books will be opened, and we will do our judging up there. And then we know the two sticks of Ephraim and Judah come together. They're down on earth. And so the north and the west meets with the south and the east, and they come together at Zion. 10 days later, because we know we're going to get to the remnant, we're going to get to Zion first. 10 days later is when Yehuda and the Rechabites, who is going to be his companions, they meet with the remnant at Zion. They're going to come 10 days late because they have to kill a 200 million man army. So this is the scenario. Now remember about these words, about this teruah, that Barak hired Balaam because the Midianites told Balak how to destroy Israel. Remember, Moshe got his wife from the Midianites. He lived among them for years. And they learned that the power of Israel was in their mouths. The power was in their words. The history of us is that we have power in our words when we speak in the authority and the power of Yahweh. This was why Balak hired Balaam, who also had power in his mouth to speak and cause things to be in reality and to come to reality. Let's read Numbers 23:21. Let's go back, Numbers 23:21. And it reads, this is Balaam, and it was beautiful, given his prophecy because he couldn't curse Israel. Once Yahweh blesses something, it cannot be cursed. You cannot be cursed, Israel, unless you curse yourself. Do not curse yourself. The power of words causes reality. Balaam was not allowed to curse Israel because he could not overcome the words of Yahweh. So this is the next blessing he gave. In verse 21, he says, he has not observed iniquity in Jacob, nor has he seen wickedness in Israel. Yahweh, his mighty one, is with him, and the shout of a king is among them. The shout of a king. Their word, when he says shout, is teruah. Hebrew word 8643. See, even Balaam, who was sent to curse us, said the shout, the teruah of a king is in us. Yahweh breathed into us. He used us for his shofar, or his kudu, or his kasatzara, and he breathed through us. The power of words of Yahweh. Remember, Romans 3:2 says, we had the oracles of Yahweh's deeper realm in our mouth. I'm speaking his words now. He's speaking through me. I'm speaking with the authority and power he has given me, and what I say out of my mouth about this word is true. Over top of whoever you heard in this broadcast before, and whoever you hear after. They're not speaking of this word. It is not because they have no Ruach HaKodesh in them. And it is that Yahweh Shua is the first and the last, and the beginning and the end. The Aleph and Tau. That is what the Besorah is. And it's all about him. And this ministry is all about Yahweh Shua HaMashiach. And it is testified by those who curse you. Speak with power and authority out of your mouth, as in the book. Speak truth. Speak emet. Do not curse yourself. The words cause reality. So Yahweh Shua is going to speak the resurrection, and we're going to rise up. The wise understand. While those who live on the earth, we're going to talk about that, continue on their way. They're not even going to recognize our resurrection. And then the remnant head to Zion, and Yehuda and the Rechabites head to Sinai. We know the dead precede the living. The remnant are not going to go up with us who resurrect. Let's go to 1 Thessalonians 4. Let's get some scripture on how when after the resurrection there will still be Sadiq here on the earth. There will still be a remnant. 1 Thessalonians 4, 15 through 18. And this is Shaul explaining to the Thessalonians about the resurrection. For this we say to you by the word of Yahweh, that we who are alive and remain until the coming of Yahweh will by no means precede those who are asleep. Because Yahweh himself will descend from Hashemayim with a shout, with a teruah, to wake up the dead. A teruah, those who are asleep. None of the wicked are dead. The Sadiq are asleep. And they recognize the voice of Yahweh. So with a shout, and with the voice of an archangel, and with the triumph, the teruah of Yahweh, and those who sleep in Hamashiach will rise first. Then we who are alive and remain will be caught up together with them. Now, not caught up immediately, because they got to go through the times and the hot sea, the half of times. And to clouds to meet Yahweh in the air, and thus we will always be with Yahweh. Therefore, comfort one another with these words. So it's not like being left behind. Comfort one another with these words, that those who are remnant will be up with us. Let's go to Revelations 6:12. I keep talking about this earthquake, how this begins everything, and it begins it on Yom Teruah. So Revelation 6:12, and it reads, I looked when he opened the sixth seal, and behold, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth and hair, and the moon became like blood. That's the sixth seal. It begins the anarchy. And you think it's anarchy now, it's going to be some anarchy after that earthquake. And that earthquake signals our resurrection. Let's go to, we read in Daniel 12:7 that when this will happen. This happens, it can't happen now because you still have rights. You have rights to go ahead and curse out the president. You have rights to not work on Shabbat. You have rights not to get a shot. All these things. So when is this going to happen? It can only happen, it says it right here, because Daniel said, when is this going to happen? What? In Daniel 12:7, the Malak said, and when the Kodesh Am, the holy people, are trampled like dust. When we have been thoroughly trampled with no power left, no power, nothing to support us, nothing to back, no laws to support us, no laws, the whole government, the whole world's going to turn against you. It's going to turn against us. It's going to go against us who want to exercise our freedom from not being violated with something going into your bodies that you do not want. When we are thoroughly trampled and have no rights, that's when Yahweh's going to come, because it has to be when we're at the sea of reeds, the Red Sea, when we're trapped, when there's no way out. When that sea opened, you only praise to Yahweh could be given. That was not a natural act. There was nothing that ever happened before, and it happened once at Jordan when we crossed over to the Kodesh land. We had to be trapped with no other option. That way, when we were saved, when we got to the other side, we had to give Yahweh the praise because we couldn't do it with our own hands. We had no power and might. That's how it's going to be today. We can only be saved by Yahweh. It doesn't matter how hard you preach and how strong you teach. It doesn't matter how much about your gifts and talents and your talent. I told you, we cannot do this. We have only produced a part. We failed. That's why Yahweh Shua has to come. And then Revelations 7:3, what happens? Because we don't all go up together, saying, do not harm the earth, the sea, or the trees, till we have sealed the servants of Yahweh on their foreheads. So the remnant had to be sealed. They got to be protected because the bold judgments are coming. The remnant is going to be sealed and protected, sealed with the name of Yahweh, because the bold judgments are coming. Because we are resurrected and we're safely in Hashemayim. We're going to look over the books to see whether Yahweh was just in those who were left behind in the graves. So we're going to do that. Now let's go to, and it's not just about naming and claiming, blabbing and grabbing it, because I'm not going to read it because I want to run out of time. But in 1 Samuel 4:3-11, we see that Yisrael wanted to use the Ark of the Covenant to defeat their enemies, but they didn't have their heart. They didn't teshuva in their hearts. And we see that the Hophni and Phinehas, Eli's sons, were killed because they were wicked. So you cannot just use Yahweh's words and think that you can conquer and have your way just because you call on the name of Yahweh. You cannot use Yahweh. You cannot manipulate Yahweh. Let's go to 1 Corinthians while we're here in the Brit Hadashah in 15 and 50. But that's important to know. You can't just call on the name of Yahweh, because the evil one's going to call on him too, to think that's going to save them, but it's not going to work. 1 Corinthians 15:50 through 56. And this is Shaul explaining about the mystery of the resurrection, which I'm explaining to you now. I'm unfolding this mystery of the resurrection to you now, with the anointing that Yahweh has put on me as a teacher of his word. And it reads, now this I say, brethren, that flesh with blood cannot inherit the kingdom of Yahweh, nor does corruption inherit incorruption. That means when we get resurrected to go to Hashemayim, we're not going to have blood in our bodies. It is corruptible. You were not created. Adam was the original Teruah. He blew out Yahweh's name. He did not have blood in his body. He got 60 elements made in his body. They all come from the soil. There was no blood in the soil, not until Cain killed Abel. Look, I tell you a mystery. We will not all sleep, but we will all be changed. She changed from blood to water. In a moment, once you got to take from the tree of life, though, to get that water. In a moment, in a twinkling of an eye, at the last trump, at the last sound, at the last teruah from Yahweh's mouth, for the trumpet will sound, and the dead will be raised incorruptible, and will be changed. For this corruption must put on incorruption, and this mortal must put on immortality. So when the corruptible has been put on incorruption, and this mortality has put on immortality, then will be brought to pass the saying that is written, death is swallowed up in victory. So you see, this is going to cause, this is the mystery that he's trying to tell us now. At that time, they did not know there was going to be 2,000 more years. Shaul really believed that, hey, they will be alive. And this is part of the answer I'm going to give you at the end of when Yahweh is actually going to come. I'm going to tell you exactly when he's going to come, all right? So stay tuned for the next 19 minutes. Because they was wondering, well, wait a minute, what about those who are dead? He was saying, don't worry about that. That trumpet is going to sound. That voice of Yahweh Shua, the Creator, who said, let there be or, let there be the knowledge of Yahweh, is going to raise them up. Those who have an ear, hear. They heard the word. Yahweh Shua is the original word. They heard the word and they were resurrected, or we will be resurrected. You have the ear to hear. Not hearing all the stuff that's going on in this world now. John 10:1-19. Let's talk about this. This ear and hearing. He heard the word. John 10:1-19. This is Yahweh Shua talking about him being a good shepherd. Most assuredly I say to you, he who does not enter the sheepfold by the door, but climbs up some other way, the same is a thief and a robber. But he who enters by the door is the shepherd of the sheep. To him the doorkeeper opens, and the sheep hear his voice, and he calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. And when he brings out his own sheep, he goes before them, and the sheep follow him because they know his voice. Yet they will by no means follow a stranger, but will flee from him because they do not know the voice of strangers. I'm going to skip down to verse 7. Most assuredly I say to you, I am the door of the sheep. All who ever came before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep did not hear them. So going down, I'm going to keep reading on down. I am the door. If anyone enters by me, he will be saved and will go in and out and find pasture. The thief does not come except to steal and to kill and to destroy. I have come that they may have life, and that they may have it more abundantly. I am the Tob shepherd. The Tob shepherd gives his hide for the sheep. But a hireling who is not the shepherd, one who does not own the sheep, sees the wolf coming and leaves the sheep and flees. And the wolf catches the sheep and scatters them. The hireling flees because he is a hireling and does not care about the sheep. Yah, the Tob shepherd, I am. And I know my sheep and am known by my own. As the Ab knows me, even so I know the Father, and I lay down my life for the sheep. Shaitan ain't laying down his life for nobody. And other sheep I have, others, which are not of this fold, them also must I bring. And they will hear my voice, they will shema my voice, and there will be one flock and one shepherd. Therefore my Father loves me, because I lay down my life for the sheep, and take it up again. Take my own life up. No one takes it from me, but I lay it down for myself. I have power to lay it down, and I have power to take it again. This command I have received from my Ab. Not Abba. Abba is Greek. Here, this is all about the voice. Let me go. This is beautiful. I'm going to go 24 to 27. This is Yahweh, and see, the Jews surrounded him and said, how long do you keep us in doubt? If you are the Messiah, tell us plainly. I told you, and you do not believe. The works that I do in my Ab's name, they bear me witness. But you do not believe, because you are not my sheep, as I said to you. My sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me. See, because these wicked men did not understand, because they did not understand the voice of Yahweh. They were not his sheep. These wicked Edomites did not understand the words of Yahweh Shua, because they were not his. And when we resurrect, what are we going to say? Let's go to Yeshaya, Isaiah, because this is going to be a beautiful time. We're talking about a Teruah. We're talking about Yom Teruah. Isaiah 26. Isaiah 26, 1 through 19. There's a song we're going to be singing. In that day, this song will be sung in the land of Yehudah, on that day of our resurrection. We have a strong city. Yahweh will appoint salvation for walls and bulwarks. Open the gates, that the righteous nation which keeps the truth may enter in. Yahweh's we're going to be a nation in one day. You will keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on you, because he trusts in you. See, we're going to lay down and sleep in peace. We're not going to lay down in torment. Trust in Yahweh forever, for in Yah, even in this English Bible, it says Yah. Yah is everlasting strength, because he will bring down those who live on high. The lofty city, he lays it low. He lays it low to the ground. He brings it down to the dust. The foot will tread it down, the feet of the poor and the steps of the needy. The way of the just is upright. O Most High, you weigh the path of the just. Yes, in the way of your judgments, O Yahweh, we have waited for you. The desire of our soul is for your name and for the remembrance of you. With my soul I have desired you in the night. Yes, by the Spirit within me I will seek you early. Because when your judgments are in the earth, the inhabitants of the world will learn righteousness. Let grace be shown to the wicked, yet he will not learn righteousness. See, those bold judgments that's going to wait them, they ain't going to change. So In the land of the upright, he will deal unjustly and will not behold the majesty of Yahweh. So the wicked are going to stay wicked. That's why they're going to stay down in the grave until that second resurrection. Yahweh, when your hand is lifted up, they will not see, but they will see and be ashamed, because their envy of people, yes, the fire of your enemies will devour them. Yahweh, you will establish peace for us, because you have also done all our works in us. O Yahweh, Almighty One, masters besides you have had dominion over us. But by you only we make mention of your name. They are dead, they will not live. They are deceased, they will not rise. Therefore you have punished and destroyed them and made all their memory to perish. You have increased the nation, O Yahweh. You have increased the nation. You are honored. You have expanded all the borders of the land. I'm going to skip on down. Verse 18, we have been with child, we have been in pain, we have, as it were, brought forth wind. We have not accomplished any deliverance on the earth, nor have the inhabitants of the world fallen. So when we resurrect, there's still going to be wickedness on the earth, because we have failed. This is why Yahweh Shua has to do it. He says, your dead will live, together with my dead body, they will arise. Awake and sing, and you will live, you who live in the dust, because your dew is like the dew of herbs, and the earth will cast out the dead. And that's really the sleep, those who are asleep. That is our resurrection song. I briefly went through it. And some more of it. Let's go to Psalm 118, 19 to 29. Psalm 118, 19 to 29. I might have to skip through that. This is beautiful. I will need 3 weeks to do just Yom Teruah. Psalm 118 and 19 to 29. Open the gates that the Sadiq, that the gates of the open to me the gates of the Sadiq. I will go through them and I will praise Yahweh. This is the gate of Yahweh, through which the righteous will enter. See, we're going to rise into these gates. I will praise you, because you have answered me, and you have become my salvation. The stone which the builders have rejected have become the chief cornerstone. This was Yahweh's doing. It is marvelous in our eyes. This is the day that Yahweh has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. Save now, I pray, O Yahweh. O Yahweh, I pray, send down prosperity. Blessed is he who comes in the name of Yahweh. We have blessed, see, those who comes in another name, another sheep comes in another name. Another shepherd comes in another name. We have blessed you from the house of Yahweh. The sovereign is Yahweh, and he has given us light. Remember, or the knowledge of Yahweh. Bind the sacrificial cords to the horns of the altar. You who are my mighty one, I will praise you. You are my mighty one, I will exalt you. Oh, give Todah to Yahweh, because he is told his seed endures olam. We're going to rise and sing and sing and sing. Ezekiel, I'm going to run out of time. 46, 1 through 4. We're going to be teaching. I think I want to go to Ezekiel. But the remnant on the earth are going to go to Zion, and they're going to be teaching the Torah to those who live on the earth. Because right now, we are accepting it. We are learning it, and we are following it, and going by the Moedim, and meeting Yahweh at the appointed times, eating right, drinking right, speaking right, dressing right. We're practicing and doing the best we can. And we're going to fail, but the just live by faith. We're justified by our faith in Yahweh. I fail every day, but I rise up every day in the power of Yahweh. We're going to resurrect. And those left on the earth, they're going to have to be given the 613. And then they are going to see how that is going to get them to the land, but not into the land, because Yahweh Shua is the X-Man. They must accept him. And then Revelations 3, 7 to 18. This is about the faithful believers and the throne room and opening the gates. I don't know if I'm going to have time to read all that, but read Revelations 3, 7 to 18. This is about the faithful believers and the throne room. And then we got Matthew 27, 50 to 56. Wow, so much this Yom Teruah, because it speaks to the last days. Do I want to? So, I think I might want to go ahead. Okay, Matthew 27, 50 through 56. So much. This is beautiful. Because your Sunday school preachers won't preach it. I got to come out here and teach it. And it reads, and Yahweh Shua cried out again with a loud voice. He did that Teruah and yielded up his spirit. Then, behold, all the veil of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom, and the earth quaked, and the rocks were split, and the graves were opened. This is that special resurrection. Okay, and I'm not going to go into it, but this is a special resurrection, Dawid amongst others. And many bodies of the saints, and these were the Kadashim, had fallen asleep, were raised, and coming out of the graves after his resurrection, and they went into the Kodesh city and appeared to many. And it goes on. But this is a special resurrection. I wanted to read that because there is a special resurrection, and this is a tesseract. If you remember, I did talk about the tesseract. We are in a linear dimension right now, which cannot completely understand this word. Yahweh is not held and bound by the times and space of gravity and time like we are. Everything is before him and everything is about him all at one time. So when you're reading the Bible, you're reading it in a linear fashion. That's not how the way things happen. That's not how the way it's given. That's not how the way it's understood by those who have a Sadiq mind of Yahweh. But in this resurrection, also Yochanan was part of the resurrection. Yet he's on the island of Patmos giving us the book of Revelations. So it shows you how this is like a tesseract. It's a multidimensional, this word. That's why I wanted to read that. But in Zechariah 9:14, we see that the sovereign Yahweh blows the trumpet, which again is his voice. And just like in the days of Noah, remember, before the floods came, all the Sadiq of the earth had all by that time died. What was remaining was those who live on the earth, the wicked. This is the same thing that's going to happen. Psalm 116, 15 through 19. I don't have time to read it. But in Psalms 116, 15, 19, Yahweh says, precious in his sight is the death of his saints. So we're going to have to all pass away. Because before these bold judgments come, except for the remnant. In Isaiah 57, 1 and 2, Yahweh says, no one considers the death of the Kadashim. See, the righteous pass away every day. We're passing away every day. And the more of us pass away, the more Ruach HaKodesh is left, the less Ruach HaKodesh is on this earth. The earth is getting more wicked and more wicked and more wicked the more of us pass away. Joel 2, 1 and 2 talks about the blowing of the shofar is really, blowing of the trumpet, the teruah. It's not the shofar. And that's the clapping of the hands and the shouting and the praising is the blowing of, this is what Joel talking about, and it causes the resurrection. There is a warning. Almost 1 and 1 talks about 2 years before this earthquake happens, there's going to be a warning. We could be in that part right now. That's Amos 1 and 1. Zephaniah 1, 14 to 16 talks about this day of blowing. Matthew 24, 29 to 31 is the coming of the Son of Man that's going to lead to this morning. This is going to be talking about this next week. We're going to talk about Yom Kippur. And this, because Yom Teruah leads to Yom Kippur. Revelations. I got 5 more minutes. So thanks, Mr. Vernon. So this leads to Yom Kippur. Zechariah 12, 10 through 14 talks about those mourning whom they have pierced. So we're going to see that, you know what, this man indeed was innocent. He was innocent. He did no wrong. And what is left now, talking about this this half hour, this in Revelation 8:1, this space of silence. Remember, we're talking about the laws of warfare in Deuteronomy 20. We must give the enemy time to repent or turn and give up or whatever. That's what Yahweh is doing. Those who live on the earth, remember, I'm going to tell you the exact time he comes. Revelation 3:10, Revelation 6:10, Revelation 11:10, Revelation 13:8, Revelation 13:14, Revelation 14:16, Revelation 17:18. All talks about those who live on the earth, who worship the beast, who we say, Yahweh, avenge us from those. Why are they called those who live on the earth? Because those are the ones who accept this life, who accept this world, this ways. These are not the remnant who are still down on the earth. This is those who live on the earth, those who are still trying to get in their best life, those who are waiting for the third booster shot, the fourth booster shot, the fifth booster shot, whatever it is it takes them to continue living on this earth. But when is the day he's going to come? The day Yahweh is going to come is the last breath in your nostrils. Because your next breath is going to be for the resurrection to eternal life or the resurrection to eternal damnation. That is the exact day of the return of HaMashiach. the day you draw your last breath. That's why when you wake up, may Yahweh be your inspiration. May He inspire you to do what you do this day. And then as you exhale, you inhale to praise Him again with your voice, with your works, with your hands. You praise Yahweh. He is your inspiration, because your last breath is the day of His return for you. Because what does it matter if He comes back next year, 1,000 years, or 1,000,000,000 years from now? When you die, that is His coming, because your next breath will be to see His face for happiness or for judgment. Isaiah 18:1-7 talks about those who live on the earth getting judgment. It happens at the grape harvest, and that is during this time coming up. The fall feast is the harvest of the grape time. That's why you must learn the Kodesh Moedim. Wednesday evening at sunset is Yom Kippur. We're going to do Yom Kippur next lesson. Until then, we with here, Yahweh for Christians, on the famous 1590 WFBR. Shalom Aleichem, peace be on you.